Triple bag alert, triple bag alert, triple bag alert, triple bag alert, folks. That's right. The first game of the season is done and we have to talk about it, all right? But before we talk about it, we got a lot of things to discuss, all right? Nik Bonitto, Abraham Lucas, and Ted Karras get paid. My thoughts on the Cam Heyward situation. Cowboys versus Eagles recap. Jets versus Steelers preview. Ravens versus Bills preview. Dolphins versus Colts preview. And Giants versus Commanders preview, okay? All of this and more on the 92nd episode of the Football Junkies podcast, all right? I am your host with the most, all right? I'm your chief Bagrodamus. That's right, chief, head of the table. Anything and everything related to the bag, rumors to the bag, and more. I am your GM who currently is not on a team right now, but don't you worry about it, all right? Don't you worry about it because guess what? I am all these things and more. But most importantly, the most important thing that you must remember is you are listening to the greatest football podcast that you can listen to on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis. So guess what? On 3, 1, 2, 3, let's lock in. All right, folks, let's get into the meat and potatoes of everything that is going on in the league right now. So, before we get into last night's game, let's talk about these bag alerts. Let's get that out the way because we know what we all came here for, and that is the Cowboys and Eagles recap. All right, so Nik Bonitto, pass rusher for the Broncos, inks a 4-year, $106 million deal that can go up to $120 million, $70 million in total guarantees, and he'll be making $26.5 million a year. Now, when we look at his stats from this past season, 48 tackles, 13.5 sacks, 1 pick, and 59 quarterback pressures. Now, according to the 33rd team, Nik Bonitto is one of 2 players in 2024 with 10-plus sacks and multiple defensive touchdowns. The only other person, Andrew Van Ginkel. In 2024, Nik Bonitto recorded 13.5 sacks on 57 pressures, converting pressures into sacks at 23.7%. Now, there are 2 other players who had 10-plus sacks but a higher pressure to sack rate, and that was Kyle Van Noy and Dante Fowler. Folks, this is a really good deal for a really good pass rusher, an underrated pass rusher, if I may so add. Nik Bonitto has emerged and showed that, hey, I am here to stay. I am that guy for the Broncos. Man, oh man, oh man. Last season, he was putting on a clinic. And it was only right for the Broncos to pay him the money that he so deserves. The Broncos have been taking care of business this entire offseason. From PS2 to Zach Allen to Nik Bonitto, they've done it all. The Broncos are in pole position. Yes, that's a Tomlinism right there. Pole position to make it to the Super Bowl in the next 2 years. Now, this may be on cold takes or whatever. I don't care. But right now, the only thing that is stopping the Broncos from reaching to the Super Bowl is self-inflicted wounds. They're drafting well. They're paying well. They're not overpaying for people. They're not reaching for people in the draft. Everything is coming together and it's working. And now when you really look at it, that move to let go of Russell Wilson was the best move they could have ever did. Because not only did they take all that dead cap in 1 year instead of spreading it, they allowed themselves to say, hey, we're going to take a risk on ourselves. We believe in Bo Nix. We believe in the core that we have. And we believe that this is going to be the core that's going to take us back to the Super Bowl. And so far, it's working. I guarantee you, if they have one more really good draft, I'm going to have to slide them in as a Super Bowl contender. Just saying. Hate me all you want, but hey, the proof is in the pudding, all right? So let's talk about Abraham Lucas, tackle for the Seattle Seahawks. He inks a 3-year, $46 million deal, and he'll be making $15.3 million a year. When we look at his stats from this past season, according to PFF, he had 6 penalties and allowed 2 hits, 4 sacks, and 18 total pressures. A little bit of a head scratcher, I'll be honest, because I personally thought the Seahawks were just going to let Abraham Lucas go and possibly draft one or maybe pay one in free agency, but clearly they must value him a lot, and so they gave him a really good team-friendly deal. This isn't bad at all. $15.3 million for somebody who really hasn't been that consistent in the last 2 years. I'll take it. Because for one, let's really think about this, right? For all intents and purposes, If Abraham Lucas doesn't do well in the first 2 years of that contract, they can move off of him and they can find his replacement, no problem. Now on to Ted Karras, center for the Bengals, inks a 1-year, $5 million deal. I don't know the rest of the information because it just dropped maybe about 2 hours ago, and nobody has any information about the intricacies of the contract. But when we look at his stats from this past season, according to PFF, he had 3 penalties, allowed two sacks, 6 hits, and 23 total pressures. A really good deal for a really good veteran presence on this offensive line. I'm going to be honest here, folks. The Bengals have been making a lot of moves post Trey Hendrickson. They bring in Dalton Risner. They just re-signed Ted Karras. They're preparing themselves to make a run this year. Now, am I saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl? No. Am I saying that they're going to win a playoff game? No. But what I am saying is this. The Bengals are showing that, listen, although our defense may be weak, we are still going to put up a fight. Because why? We have Joe Burrow, we have T. Higgins, we have Jamar Chase, we have Noah Fant, we have Mike Gesicki. We have everything that we need to be successful. I can't hate him for that, honestly. But let's talk about Cam Heyward, all right? Because we're just breezing by everything. This is not going to be a long and drawn-out episode. This is going to be a fairly short episode just because, for one, I want to prepare for college football because I definitely want to start talking about college football more, as well as prepare myself for Sunday. Because I'm going to try to see if I can at least watch a majority of all the games. Even if it means I have to, review it 2 or 3 times or look at the all 22, whatever I need to do, okay? Because football is here and I have to give you guys the fix that you guys need, all right? So as of now, he's still in this quote-unquote hold-in situation, whatever you want to call it, right? And so there's another chapter to this story. So on Thursday, he didn't practice. He wasn't even on the field. He wasn't doing private workouts. He wasn't doing anything. So apparently they consider it a vet day off, right? So let's go a little bit back to go a little bit forward. So on August 11th, Cam had voiced his opinions about not getting paid. And so he said, and I quote, "It's hard to justify playing at the number I'm playing at," end quote. But recently he signed a 2-year, $29 million extension, quote unquote. But it really wasn't an extension. It was simply a restructure. Because when you look at the structure of the deal, a majority of the money is in roster bonuses. And his roster bonus this year has already been paid out, and that was $13.4 million. Now, according to Spotrac, Cam Heyward is tied as the 34th highest paid interior defensive lineman. Now, when Cam signed this latest extension that he's on right now, he informed the Steelers to expect him to return to a negotiation table if he had another All-Pro season. And so now that he's had that All-Pro season, he's now looking for a re-up. I have no problem with that. So now here we are. The regular season for the Steelers is getting ready to start in less than 3 days. And nobody knows if Cam Heyward is going to play or not. Now, I understand there's a lot of beat writers and people that cover the team that are saying Cam Heyward is going to play. I don't believe that. He hasn't. If Cam Heyward hasn't said it, I don't believe it. I don't care what insider you have. I don't care who you know. I don't care what teammate you talk to. If Cam Heyward doesn't answer that question, I won't believe what anybody says. Now, I understand both sides. I understand the player side and the organization side. The organization realizes that, listen, we are not, it would be a disservice for us as an organization to give you a long-term extension at this point in your career where there is more risk than reward. Because for all intents and purposes, you could sign a long-term deal and you can become the 5th or the 10th highest paid interior defensive lineman, and then you get hurt. Or you don't play like how you used to play, and now look, the Steelers look stupid because you done gave this older veteran defensive lineman a whole bunch of money, and he isn't living up to the contract. And most likely, he's probably going to retire. So you're going to be taking on a whole bunch of dead cap. I don't think they want to do that. But at the same time, I understand where Cam is coming from. He told the Steelers, prior to him signing that extension, listen, if I hit All-Pro, I'm coming back for more money. So he gave them a heads up. And apparently, by a lot of people's reporting, they laughed him off. And so he did his thing. He had a really good season, and he got an All-Pro. Congratulations. And so he's looking for his money. Now, here's the problem that I have with Cam. And this isn't directly at him. the person, Cam Heyward. It is how he has handled the process of him not being happy with this extension. If you've been trying to get some resolution with this deal since the combine, why are we just now hearing about it? And granted, the Steelers probably told him, hey, we'll take care of that when we take care of that. Right now, we're focused on the draft. We're focused on free agency. We're focused on a plethora of different things. Okay, cool. But from the combine up until now, you haven't said anything? You haven't leaked it out to any of the insiders? Because here I am thinking, oh, Cam's about to go into this season. He's not going to do a whole lot in training camp because they want him fresh. They want him prepared for the regular season. Okay, cool. No problem. But as training camp is beginning to wind down, now we're finding out that Cam Heyward has been unhappy with the Steelers because he's looking for an extension or at least some form of resolution with his contract. Huh? And then you go on to post what you post on your story and talk about you go places where you're valued and all these just subliminal shots at the Steelers. Let me tell you something, Cam. Let me be really honest with you, bro. Troy Polamalu, Ben Roethlisberger, Hines Ward. All Steelers greats. You want to know the one thing that they all have in common? They were all forced to retire. Forced. But you, on the other hand, have the opportunity to continue to play for the black and gold. You still have the opportunity to get extensions from the black and gold. None of those three players were able to get that type of treatment. But you are. And granted, I understand there's probably some people that saying, well, TJ Watt got a deal, so it's only right that you take care of Cam Heyward. Let me tell you something. TJ Watt has been trying to get a deal for 2 years. 2 years. And guess what happened? The Steelers realized that, hey, we have to take care of TJ Watt because clearly he's showing that he's not happy and we have to take care of our star player. Because if we don't take care of our star player, we're going to lose more games than win. So here we are. Cam Heyward is undecided on if he wants to play on Sunday. See, here's the problem that I have with the Steelers, okay? You can't say that you're serious about winning when your actions don't match up. It's one thing if your actions, your mindset, everything that you're doing is showing that you're serious about winning and you're serious about competing for a Super Bowl. But everything that we have seen from the Steelers for the past 3 to 5 years shows that they are not serious about winning and they are serving Steelers fans lip salad. Every single season. They are doing the exact same thing that the Cowboys are doing. Oh yeah, this is going to be the year. This is going to be the year that we're going to go to the Super Bowl. This is the year we finally start winning playoff games. This is all we need. We just needed just this one player. We can do it. And guess what happens? Every single year, Turks and Caicos, Hawaii, Malibu, Dubai, South Africa, Japan, China, Canada, vacation spots. Because your season is already over. Not to mention, you now sort of look like a hypocrite because you know why? You were very critical about Aaron Rodgers early into the offseason when we didn't know if Aaron Rodgers was going to play or not. And you were saying either you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler or not. You can't say that, but then you're having a pissy fit because you're not the top 10 highest paid interior defensive lineman in the league, or you're not making this amount of money this year. Who cares? What you need to be focused on is just trying to win a Super Bowl. So you can submit your legacy and say, hey, listen, I am a first ballot Hall of Famer. Not, hey, I got one of the biggest contracts when I was 36 years old. No one cares about that, dog. But let's talk about this Eagles game, man, because we want to talk about something a little bit more important than somebody that's just upset because I'm not at this point. I'm not making this amount of money. No one cares about that. But let's talk about it. So Jalen Hurts, 23 attempts for 19 completions, 152 passing yards, 6.6 yards per attempt, and an 82.6 completion percentage. Jalen Hurts again, 14 attempts for 62 rushing yards, 4.4 rushing yards per carry, 2 rushing touchdowns, and 1 rush of 10 plus yards or more. Jahan Dotson, 3 targets for 3 receptions, 59 receiving yards, and 19.7 receiving yards per reception. Dak Prescott, 34 attempts for 19 completions, 188 passing yards, 5.5 yards per attempt, and a 61.8 completion percentage. Javonte Williams, 15 attempts for 54 rushing yards, 3.6 rushing yards per carry, 2 rushing touchdowns, and 1 rush of 10 plus yards or more. CeeDee Lamb, 13 targets for 7 receptions, 110 receiving yards, and 15.7 receiving yards per reception. Now here's some junkie nuggets. According to the 33rd team, Tyler Booker, Tyler Smith, and Cooper Beebe each allowed 2 pressures and no sacks. The pressure rate when Jalen Carter is on the field is 38%, which is 3rd in the league. But when Jalen Carter isn't on the field, the pressure rate is 32.4%, which is 24th in the league. During the first half, the Cowboys pass rush only created 3 pressures and no sacks, while in the second half, they created 11 pressures. Due to Jalen Carter getting ejected, Moro Ojomo played 29 of 30 snaps and Jordan Davis played 26. Since 2016, the Eagles haven't played 2 defensive tackles 85% of snaps in a game. Now, the first half, we all know what happened, all right? So let's just talk about it. Jalen Carter gets ejected for spitting on Dak Prescott. I'm just going to be completely honest with you guys. Eagles fans, you may hate me. You're probably going to turn it off at this point. That's perfectly fine. Thank you for listening to the Football Junkies podcast. I hope to see you in the next episode, okay? But let's just be honest here. Jalen Carter spitting on Dak was unnecessary. And I understand Dak said, well, I spit all the time. This is something I do. Why are we spitting? Why are we spitting? This is the first game of the 2025 season, and you're already getting ejected, Jalen Carter. For what? For what? What are we doing? That was unnecessary. And by doing so, you almost costed your team to lose the game. Because let's be real here, folks. Right now, Jerry Jones has been right. And I hate to say it, but Jerry has been right. If it wasn't for Miles Sanders fumbling the ball and the game going into a delay, the Cowboys would have beaten the Eagles. I guarantee it. Because the Cowboys' offense was starting to cook. The Eagles couldn't stop Javonte Williams. If there was a game MVP like how they do in 2K and Madden, it would be Javonte Williams because he was on a tear. But I'm going to save that for later. So starting off in the first half, the Cowboys' run game was definitely strong. You can definitely see why having Jalen Carter is very important on the field because Javonte Williams was just running everywhere and the Eagles couldn't stop it. Then you have the pass interference on Adoree Jackson, which was very much unnecessary. And even then, when you really think about it, if I'm Dak Prescott, I'm putting it up in the air because you know why? Outside of Quinyon Mitchell, what other corner do you have to worry about? Respectfully, disrespectfully. Okay, Quinyon Mitchell is lining up against George Pickens, for instance. Okay, CeeDee Lamb, get open. I'm going to throw it to you. I'm going to throw it to you as many times as I possibly can. Vice versa. Because Quinyon Mitchell is only one guy. There's nobody else in the Eagles secondary that you really have to worry about. Something that we do need to talk about is the Cowboys' run defense and just the pass rush as a whole wasn't doing enough in the first half. They wasn't creating enough pressure. They wasn't going after Jalen Hurts. They was basically ghost on the field. And so now you're seeing the effect of not having Micah Parsons. Because if Micah Parsons is on the field, guess what? He's at least getting maybe 1 or 2 sacks on Jalen Hurts. At least. And if he's not getting it, then somebody else is getting it. So moving into the second half, the Cowboys pass rush starts to get a little bit better. Now, is it enough to throw Jalen Hurts off? No. I think they still need another pass rusher that's just step up to do something because right now, nobody's doing it. Kenny Clark, sure, he was effective, but it wasn't enough. Sam Williams, it wasn't enough. Name me any person on that defensive line, it wasn't enough. And then you have Miles Sanders, he has this big run, and then a couple plays later, he fumbles. If the Cowboys didn't fumble, they could have easily tied the game up. Because at that point, the Cowboys were starting to cook, and the Eagles was starting to lag a little bit. And I think that's something we also need to talk about as well. Whoever this offensive coordinator is, I am very concerned with him. And I understand this is just the first game, but I am very concerned with him moving forward. Because here you are having your first opponent being the Cowboys. A Cowboys team who, by the way, doesn't have Micah Parsons, who only has Trevon Diggs and Deron Bland. But you have A.J. Brown, Jahan Dotson, Devontae Smith, John Mechie, Dallas Goedert, Saquon. And you mean to tell me you're not testing Trevon Diggs? You're not testing Deron Bland? Are you serious? And I know A.J. Brown was really upset because he only got one pass thrown to him. And by the time he got the ball, it was towards the end of the game. Like, what are we doing? There's nobody in the Cowboys secondary that is a problem. So you have to at least try it. Now, if you try 2 or 3 times and every time it turns to a pick, okay, fine. We're going back to just running the ball. But if you're testing it and it's working, who's really complaining? Nobody. But let's keep this thing going. So we get the 2-minute warning. Cowboys can't convert on a crucial 4th down. Hurts extends the play to get a crucial 1st down and essentially seal the game. And that's it. My takeaway from this game is the Eagles need to be concerned about Jalen Carter moving forward. I don't know what they need to do, but they need to bring in a veteran presence because clearly there's not enough structure on that defense to keep Jalen Carter in check. Because if a Brandon Graham was on that team, I guarantee you that wouldn't have happened. But I will say this. The Cowboys show that, hey, we can put up a fight. We may not make it to the playoffs. We may not make it to the Super Bowl. But we still got some fight in us. And I think that's good. I think Dak Prescott needs to work more on his relationship with George Pickens. I feel like that defense needs to be more creative in trying to create constant pressure while getting to the quarterback. And I feel like they may need to make a major move within the secondary probably by the trade deadline. And I'll just leave it there because if I just continue to go on, I'll be talking about this for 30 and 40 minutes. It's not worth it. But we have football to talk about on Sunday, folks. That's right, Sunday. So let's start with the Steelers and Jets preview. So 4 things I'm looking out for. How will an Aaron Rodgers-led Steelers offense look? How will the Jets offensive line hold up against the Steelers defensive line? How will both tackles from both teams look? And how will a Justin Fields-led offense look? Let's be real here, folks. This is the first time that Justin Fields will have control over an offense. No longer will it be somebody else's offense that's just going to be tweaked a little bit just for Justin Fields. No, this is strictly an offense for Justin Fields. I want to see how both Troy Fautanu and Broderick Jones is going to look, as well as Alofa Shanu and Armin Membu. Because I feel like a lot is riding on both of these tackle duos. How will the Jets offensive line hold up, especially with them losing Elijah Vera Tucker? Because I've heard that Joe Tippmann may be moved in at guard. Chuks Okorafor might be playing somewhere. I don't know how that's going to work, but let's just see what happens. And this is going to be the first time where we're going to see DK Metcalf, Aaron Rodgers, Jonnu Smith, and company finally on the field playing together. So I want to see how all of this is going to work. But here's some junkie nuggets. So according to NFL Pro, in 2024, Aaron Glenn played the highest amount of man coverage in the league at 47.7%. So we all know that they're going to be in man coverage a lot. But are they going to disguise it in a way that's going to throw Aaron Rodgers off? I'm actually curious to see how Aaron Rodgers is going to play on Sunday. Last season, DK Metcalf faced the 5th highest press man coverage rate at 35%, but had the 5th lowest catch rate at 33.3% and only hauled in 7 out of 21 targets. Since entering the league, Justin Fields has the longest time to throw rate at 3.10 seconds. Aaron Rodgers averaged the 5th highest time to throw rate at 2.6 seconds and attempted a pass in under 2.5 seconds on 52.2% of his attempts, which is the 3rd highest in the league. Tanner Angstrang had the 3rd highest 13 personnel rate in the league at 13.3% and averaged 6.2 yards per play, which is the 5th most in the league. When Cam Heyward is on the field, the Steelers generated a 36.1% pressure rate, which is the 8th highest in the league, compared to 31% pressure rate, which is 28th in the league when he isn't on the field. I will say this, Justin Fields isn't going to get a lot of chances to throw the ball. Most likely they're going to run the hell out of the ball, and rightfully so, because with Elijah Vera Tucker going down for the season and Joe Tippmann being moved to guard, you want to at least try to run the ball as much as you can, because For one, we all know Justin Fields holds onto the ball too long, and you really can't do that against this pass rush. So they're going to try to take it out of Justin Fields' hands as much as possible. My prediction for this game is it's going to be close, but it's not going to be too close, if that makes sense. I do believe Aaron Rodgers is going to show some magic, and I think he's going to make one crazy play that's going to seal the game. You heard it here first on the Football Junkies podcast. Now, let's go to the Ravens and Bills preview, okay? So, 4 things I'm keeping my eye on. Can the Ravens start off hot? And I mean hot. I'm talking about the pass game is on fire. The run game is on fire. Mark Andrews is doing his thing. Keaton Mitchell is doing his thing. Lamar is just putting on a clinic. I want to see, will this Ravens offense start off hot? How successful will the Bills defensive line hold up against Derrick Henry? Because I've seen a lot of people say, well, there's no need to worry about Derrick Henry. That's a lie. That is a bold-faced lie. Because you know why? If the Bills weren't concerned about Derrick Henry, why would you double dip at defensive tackle in the draft? I'm going to let you think about that. How will the Bills secondary look? Granted, I understand they have Damar Hamlin. They brought back Tre'Davious White, and then they drafted Maxwell Harrison. But I want to see how this secondary is going to look. And I want to see who's going to be matched up against who. Is it going to be Tre'Davious White against Zay Flowers or Tre'Davious White against Rashad Bateman? This is going to be a really good matchup, folks. And how will both Lamar and Josh Allen look in this game? I do believe that Lamar is coming into this game with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because I think Lamar believes that he should have won the MVP, and rightfully so. But we all know, and we've all seen the last few years in different sports, that they'll just give an MVP to somebody just because they don't want to see the other person get another one. But that's another story for another day. But here's some junkie nuggets. So according to NFL Pro, in 2024, Gregory Rousseau created 59 pressures, which was more than any other Bills defender. During their Week 4 matchup, Josh Allen was pressured 44.1% on his dropbacks, which was the second highest in a game last season, despite being blitzed on 23.5% of his dropbacks. Do I think the Ravens are going to be successful in bringing down Josh Allen? Maybe once or twice. But I don't think it's going to be a relentless type of blitzing that the Ravens are going to use against Josh Allen, because we all know that Josh Allen got wheels, so you can't really do that. When facing the blitz, Lamar and Josh Allen threw 16 touchdowns last season, which was the second most in the NFL. Baker Mayfield had the most. When facing the blitz, Lamar and Zay Flowers connected for 528 yards, which was the second most by any receiver quarterback duo. Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson had 623 yards. During the 2024 season, the Ravens used under center formations on 29.1% of their plays, the highest of any season since drafting Lamar Jackson. I think this is going to be a down-to-the-wire, heavyweight bout type of fight. But I will say this. The Ravens need this game more than the Bills, and let me explain why. The Ravens need to start off hot, and they need to do this against another Super Bowl contender. They need to shut people up and say, hey, listen, they may have beaten us last year, but that's not going to happen this year. You need to send a message to all the other Super Bowl contenders, whether it be NFC or AFC, that, hey, listen, this is our year. We understand that the past few years we've been in better positions and we failed all the time. But this year is different. And we're not going to allow the Bills to start things off on the right foot. They need to have a strong performance on both sides of the ball. The offense needs to be dominant, and the defense needs to limit Josh Allen as much as possible. Now, when we look at the Bills side, however, I think the defense needs to prove that, hey, we can create pressure, we can be successful in stopping the run, while at the same time making turnovers and putting ourselves in a better position. Because I really don't believe this defense. I don't think this defense is going to be super effective this season. I just feel like personally their secondary is probably one of their weak spots on this defense. And I feel like with Joey Bosa not playing this game, I'm a little bit skeptical on how they're going to be able to create constant pressure. But only time will tell. Now let's talk about the Dolphins versus the Colts, okay? So 4 things I'm looking out for. How will the Dolphins' O-line hold up against the Colts' pass rush? How will a Daniel Jones-led offense look? How will the Dolphins' pass rush look? And what edge will the Dolphins' offense have this season? I'm going to be really honest with you. This Dolphins' offensive line is beat up. And I really don't believe it. And I would have thought by now Chris Grier would have at least made one or two good additions to the offensive line to say, hey, although this may be considered patchwork, it's good patchwork. But right now, I'm very skeptical about this offensive line moving forward. And I'm very concerned about Tua moving forward because this offensive line is going up against a defensive line that has Latu, Kwity Paye, JT Tuimoloau, who they just drafted this year, and DeForest Buckner. I don't think this offensive line can stop them. I'm just going to be completely honest here. But I've seen crazier things. Now, with this being Daniel Jones' first time being a starter since leaving the Giants, I want to see, does he have the juice? Because I want to see, can Daniel Jones run this offense successfully? Because I think the bar is set pretty low for him. I think if Daniel Jones plays at an average to slightly above average, I think the team can make that work. However, if we start seeing a lot of the problems that we saw when he was with the Giants start to emerge again, then we might have to have another conversation about the Colts. Because I think right now, I think their mindset going into the regular season is, let's just make it through the season so that we can draft a quarterback next year. Which, I don't blame them. But when we look at the Dolphins pass rush, with them acquiring Matthew Judon via free agency, and Jalen Phillips coming back as well as Bradley Chubb, I want to see, can those three create enough pressure to really go after the quarterback? And I also want to see, can Kenneth Grant be the wrecking ball that he was at Michigan? Because I think if that defensive line can actually create a lot of pressure and really go after the quarterback, I think the defense could be in a really good shape. Because, I mean, you have Minka Fitzpatrick, you have Jack Jones. Like, they've done a lot with this defense. And I think they can make it work. But it all relies on the pass rush. Now, on to the final game, and that is the Giants versus Commanders. Okay, so 4 things to watch out for. How effective will the Commanders' pass rush be? How will the Giants use Abdul Carter? How will the Commanders use Deebo Samuel? And how will Russell Wilson look? So when we talk about the pass rush for the Commanders, you have Frankie Louvu, you now have Von Miller, you still have Daron Payne, you have Johnny Newton. I want to see how this pass rush is going to look. Because I think Von Miller can still be a really effective pass rusher to the point where I believe that the Giants will probably run 12 and 13 personnel a lot. Because they want to try to mitigate his presence as well as Frankie Louvu's and Daron Payne's. Now, as far as the Giants using Abdul Carter, I want to see how the formation is going to look. I want to see where he's going to be lined up at. Because you're going to have Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, himself, and Dexter Lawrence. At least 2 of those pass rushers is going to get after the quarterback. And I can't wait to see it. Pardon the interruption, but this is your GM, your Bag Road Dominus, here to talk about RSS.com, all right? So, if you guys already don't know, I am a RSS.com affiliate, and so I just want to tell you for just a quick moment about why you should choose RSS.com. So me personally, on my journey of podcasting, I was looking at different platforms just to find the right place. And I looked here, I looked there, I looked everywhere, but I checked out RSS.com, and it was the best decision I ever made. From low prices to interactive analytics, to as well as helping you with your distribution. RSS.com does it all. Not to mention, they just started a Slack channel where you can network and interact with other podcasters and even get some insightful tips on how you can increase your podcast even more. Also, RSS.com just launched their paid ads program. So now you can get paid for posting your content. Not to mention, all you have to do is just have 10 downloads and you're qualified for it. Who would want to get paid for doing something that they're passionate about doing? So head on over to RSS.com. I will be attaching my RSS affiliate link within the description. When you click on that link, I will be able to receive some compensation for it. And with that compensation, I will be able to give you guys a better product. A lot of that money will go towards upgrading the microphones, computers, new subscriptions for more analytical information that we can use for future podcasts, all of that and more. Thank you for your support, and thank you RSS.com for making me an affiliate. Now back to the good stuff. So let's talk about Deebo Samuel and his role on this team. So with Terry McLaurin coming back to the Commanders, I want to see how they're going to use him. I want to see, are they going to use him the same way that the 49ers use him, which is sort of like that Swiss Army knife. You can double as a running back. We can put you in the slot. We can put you in the outside. I want to see how that's going to work, because I feel like with the addition of Deebo Samuel, I think this is going to expand the offense a little bit more. Now, am I saying you're going to get the same production that the 49ers got from him? No. But I do believe that's another weapon for Jaden Daniels that he can rely on moving forward. Now, with Russell Wilson, we all know that he started off really strong last year against the Steelers, and then he just fell off. But the question is, will Russell Wilson be able to maintain a level of consistency with the Giants? Because I think if he's just slightly above average, I think this Giants team can make a lot of noise. But if you see a lot of the problems that you saw when he was with the Steelers last year start to emerge, then we might be in trouble. Then we might be having to talk about, Jackson Dart might have to come in, or Jameis Winston might have to come in. But let's talk about these junkie nuggets, all right? So the Commanders' defense allowed 17 touchdowns on deep passes during the 2023 season, 4 more than any defense in the season since 2016. Brian Burns generated 66 pressures. So we all know that Brian Burns is going to do his thing. But the question is there going to be a formation where it's Brian Burns and Abdul Carter, or Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, or Kayvon Thibodeau and Abdul Carter? How is that going to look? The Commanders' defense used man blitzes against 22% of their opponents' dropbacks, which was the third highest rate in the NFL. When Dexter Lawrence was on the field, the Giants created a 27.5 pressure to sack conversion rate, which was higher than the Ravens' pressure to sack conversion rate at 24.4%. The Giants' offense used spread formation on 36.2% of their plays, which was the third highest rate in the league. Deebo Samuel was one of 2 receivers to have played 150 plus snaps when aligned in the backfield, slot, wideout, and tight on at least 5% of the snaps. The other receiver was Jaden Reed. Now, we all know with divisional games, they're very close and they're very competitive. So I expect this game to be a back and forth type of game, going down to the wire. Might have to make a field goal kick just to seal the game. But I can't wait for Sunday. But I'm going to end this episode here. If you guys like what you're listening, please make sure you guys download the episodes, share the episodes with somebody else that loves football just as much as we do, all right? Now, for my audio listeners, please leave a 5-star review on anywhere and everywhere that you can listen to podcasts, okay? We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and I think Amazon as well, if I'm not mistaken. But if you go on Google, you type in Football Junkies, and you click on our RSS link, there's a few more options that you can listen to the podcast if you are an audio listener, okay? Now, for my YouTube people, like, share, subscribe, turn that notification bell on, leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on anything and everything that I have covered in this episode, okay? Am I right or wrong about Cam Heyward? Am I right or wrong about the Cowboys and Eagles game? Am I right or wrong on any of the games that I have covered prior to Sunday? Please let me know. But while you're on our YouTube, Football Junkies Pod, you go in our bio, there is a link tree. When you click on that link tree, it'll take you to anywhere and everywhere that we have Football Junkies content, whether it be on our X, whether it be on Instagram, TikTok, you name it, all of that is there, as well as our RSS affiliate link. So if you're looking to distribute your podcast, go ahead and use my RSS affiliate link, because when you do so, I'm able to receive those commissions. And with those commissions, I will be able to give you guys a better product, okay? While at the same time, you guys also get something in return. Now, for my Instagram people, all right? Football_Junkies Pod, all right? Football_Junkies Pod. Junkies Pod is not what? It is together, not spaced. It is together, not spaced. Football_junkies pod, all right? Now for my X people / Twitter, GM Kale, all right? GM Kaile. I always post all of my clips, my hot takes. I may even interact with a few fans on, various different things and whatnot. So go ahead and follow me over there, as well as on Blue Sky, GM Kale, all right? GM Kaile. Now for my TikTok people, Football Junkies Pod, all right? Football Junkies Pod. I got some clips that I got to post. Stay tuned for that. I may post them today or tomorrow, but they will be posted fairly soon. But just stay tuned for that. But as always, I hope I gave you guys the fix that you guys need. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of the greatest football podcast that you can possibly listen to on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis. All right. I am your GM Kale, signing out. Peace and love. Later. Sunday, folks. Sunday, 1 o'clock. Football. We're back.